admires Malcolm X and who Malcolm X is, and you read his speeches, as well as other people talking about, black bootlickers and house Negroes and things of that nature. When you listen to FBA talk, it's like Malcolm X knows exactly who he was talking about. He knew exactly who he was talking about because these FBAs pretty much repeat everything that Malcolm X said. That, hey, look, you got two kind of slaves. You got the field Negroes and you got the house Negroes, and then FBA verbatim says everything about the character of what you think a house Negro would be. It's like it's like, wow, you can't really make this stuff up. So what I'm going to do right now, before we get into the main topic, um, what's up, Anthony? What's up, brother? Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Right. Before we get into the main topic, I think we need to play Malcolm X's speech on the house Negro and the slave Negro, right? To really understand some of our people and their disconnect and their allegiance and the Stockholm syndrome, this drapetomania of just holding white people near and dear to their house. I don't know if it's a sign of cowardice. I don't know if it's a sign of ignorance. Because, hey, look, human nature, people, you always want to be with the winning team. And black people here in America, we're not the really winning team right here. We're resilient, but we're not really the winning team here. So you're going to have some cowards say, look, I'm going to jump ship. I want to be with the winning team. So if I have to step on my other brothers on face in order to do it, I'll do it. But let's go over here of Malcolm X. This is the animated version. I love the animated version of Malcolm X speech. And I'm going to stop it when he hits the nail in the head, when you engage in conversation with these FBA goons, cultists, Nashidites, these minions. So I'll start sharing it now.
There was two kinds of slaves. There was the house Negro and the field Negro. The house Negro, they lived in the house with master. They dressed pretty good. They ate good because they ate his food, what he left. They lived in the attic or the basement, but still they lived near their master. And they loved their master more than the master loved himself. They would give their life to save their master's house quicker than the master would. The house Negro, if the master said, we got a good house here, the house Negro said, yeah, we got a good house here. Whenever the master said we, he said we. That's how you can tell a house Negro.
And this is very true. When you're talking to FBA or people who on black people and house Negroes that assimilate, not adapt. We all, as black people in this country, we have to adapt to the American way of life that is mostly Eurocentric and is anti-black, right? So black people adapt. House niggas assimilate. So what you're seeing right here is an assimilation. So when they talk bad about other black people, they use we, my country, we, I did this, we did that. These are the things that they say.
If the master's house caught on fire, the house Negro would fight harder to put the blaze out than the master would. If the master got sick, the house Negro would say, what's the matter, boss? We sick.
Exactly. This is the whole, we all say the same thing when you have black people and they talk. Look, I can't say you can't be a proud black American. That's not what I'm saying. You could be a black American like me, right? That came here recently. You could be a black American that's been here several generations, right? But at the same time, there's only so much patriotism you can have. And I said this before. Chris Rock said it in his stand-up. He says, as black people, we gotta look at white people, America, as the uncle who paid your way through college, but molested you. You know what I'm saying? So I would even be that gracious, but understand what Chris Rock is saying. So have this unadulterated patriotism and this is mine and we did this and this is my country and my country this, my country did that. No one asks black people for their goddamn opinion on how to run the country. Let's get that straight. Black people that politically have no power in this country whatsoever, right? So to say we did this and we did that when it comes to politics is really something that is really bewildering to me, as far as like, you're not making decisions after the after the Civil Rights Act has been implemented. Saying black people politically kind of splintered off, and we kind of lost our momentum. So yeah, so black people can be patriotic, but when you say we, you're not included in the major decision makings, good or bad.
He identified himself with his master more than his master identified with himself. And if you came to the house,
and that's true, because FBA ADOS, they don't want to identify with who they are. They don't want to identify with who they are. They want to be just white adjacent as close as possible. If you say you're African, they get mad. But at the same time, they want reparations and all these things for what happened to their African ancestors. Make it make sense. You don't want to be African. Africa got nothing to do with you. But there you are. You want to tether yourself to an African descendant. Like, you can't have it both ways. That's why I'm saying this is FBA is a fraud. It's an online hashtag.
Negro, and said, let's run away. Let's escape. Let's separate. That house Negro would look at you and say, man, you crazy. What you mean separate? Where is there a better house?
Then they're going to say, oh, separate? I'm not going to separate. I'm going to stay right here because I'm not a fleer. I'm going to stay right here. Again, nothing wrong with staying in America. That's not what Pan-Africanism is you leaving where you are. Is doing the best that you can, facilitating the needs of your people politically, financially, and socially, right? For the betterment of all people, no matter where you are globally. So you don't have to move to Africa in order to be a Pan-African. That's like a misnomer that these goofballs have, right? But when you're here, right, you aligning yourself with white supremacy is what makes you the house Negro, adopting all of his ideologies of the way he thinks, looking through the lens of red, white, and blue, and thinking that's the right way of seeing it, while denying who you are, who your roots are.
Than this. Where can I wear better clothes than this? Where can I eat better food than this? That was that house Negro. In those days, he was called a house nigger. And that's what we call him today, because we still got some house niggers running around here.
They got Obama's shucking and jiving.
This modern house Negro loves his master. He wants to live near him. He'll pay 3 times as much as the house is worth just to live near his master. And then brag about, I'm the only Negro out here.
Again, sounds like Tariq Nasheed lives in, I don't know, California, like let's say Chatsworth is mostly a white area where he lives in. So he lives in a white neighborhood, got kids that's 1/4 black, lives with his white mother-in-law and be with his white relatives. And if you follow this channel and you follow other people, he goes everywhere with his mother-in-law, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? If your mother-in-law is white, it is what it is. But don't shame other people by saying, well, you're not really black. You know what I'm saying? When you consciously made a decision to be with your wife that's mulatto, that has a white mother-in-law, versus people like me that got black family on both sides. Mother's black, father's black, great-grandparents is black, grandparents is black. So, that's the sad part.
I'm the only one on my job. I'm the only one in this school. You're nothing but a house Negro. And if someone come to you right now and say, let's separate, you say the same thing that the house Negro said on the plantation. What you mean separate? From America? This good white man?
And I should have pulled it up. If for those you know, there's a symptom. Well, it's pseudoscience, it's scientific racism, psychological pseudoscience, where you have in during the 1800s, you had this forgot his name. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Called drapetomania, basically saying, "Hey, he did a psychological analysis, and because he doesn't understand why slaves ran away." Doesn't understand why slaves run away. So he's like, why would a slave run away from his master? He has a plantation here. We give him good work. We give him food. If you're Ted Cruz, or you say that, you know, or Republican, you say, you know, African Americans learn skills when they were slaves. They learn skills. You know what I'm saying? So why would they run away? You know, so it's this mindset that House of Negroes have that of drapetomania, of thinking that if you to run away from a plantation or run away from white supremacy, that yes, that's mentally that's mentally that's mentally unstable. That's mentally retarded. That's something that's not psychologically sound. Why would you want to run? So it's drapetomania, you know, mixed in with Stockholm syndrome, with post-traumatic slave syndrome, all roll in one. Malcolm X is talking about FBA people in this day and age. He's talking about House of Negroes then. If Malcolm X was still alive and he was to hear all the things that a segment of Black America is saying, the lower segment of Black America is saying, called FBA, he'd be like, wow, I did this speech like 60 years ago, talking about these same people.
Where you gonna get a better job than you get here? I mean, this is what you say. I ain't left nothing in Africa. That's what you say. Why, you left your mind in Africa.
And I need to use that phrase a little more. It's like, I ain't African, I ain't this, I ain't this. Why I left in Africa, left your mind in Africa. So they revere Malcolm X, but they don't hold any of his teachings. And I want to do also a video about that, where scholarship and intellectualism is dying, is at a downward spiral. Because if you were to say, Kofi, whose shoulders do you stand on as far and where you get your ideology from? You're nobody. You're just some person on YouTube just talking, just yapping, right? I could say, okay, you know what? I hold myself dear to my teaching. The standards shows that I stand on and where I speak from is from Dr. Asa Hillier, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, John G. Jackson, Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, Ashwa Kwesi, and the list goes on and on and on. You know, I guess those people. So if you know their body of work, right, you could put my feet to the fire, and there's a framework for me. When you go hold my feet to the fire and say, hey man, you're off code. These men didn't teach that, right? FBA, they don't do that. And the people who they do revere, right, they hate their rhetoric. Malcolm X is a Pan-African. They talk about Francis Cress Welsing. Tariq Nasheed has Francis Cress Welsing in the Hidden Struggle Museum, if it's open. I heard it's being closed down. It's only open up for a happy hour and for comedy clubs and for booty shaking. But it's a museum. But he would talk about Francis Cress Welsing and all this. Francis Cress Welsing was a Pan-African. He has Dr. Henry Clark in there. Dr. Henry Clark is a Pan-African. But at the same time, he goes online talking bad about Pan-Africans. FBA are talking bad about Africans. The same racist tropes that white people use against Black people in America during that time, during slavery and during Reconstruction, even up to the 60s and 70s. The lower echelon of Black society called FBA is now using it against other Black people. What's the saying? Hurt people hurts people. And if you don't know any other way, if you're in America and all you see is how you've been hurt, and you're seeing how damaged you've been by it, and you see consciously or subconsciously of how it shaped your life. Now, when you get a little power and you believe in this hype that, well, I'm better than these other people, the same mechanisms and the same rhetoric that was used against you to make you feel like shit, you can do the same thing to other people. It's something. It kind of reminds me of the Zionists of what they're doing now to the people in Gaza. They know what genocide is. They know what to be occupied by another powerful force and be genocided and ethnically cleansed. But guess what? Now they have the upper hand. Who cares? I got the upper hand now. I'm not saying FBA will ever get to that point. You know what I'm saying? Don't never get to that point. They're too much of a cowards to even get to that point. They're not even organized. But I'm saying that to say is that it is a human nature thing, but it's also showing you how troubled and psychologically damaged these people are.
On that same plantation, there was the field Negro. The field Negro, those were the masses. There was always more Negroes in the field than there was Negroes in the house. The Negro in the field caught hell. He ate leftovers. In the house, they ate high up on the hog. The Negro in the field didn't get nothing but what was left of the insides of the hog. They call them chitlins nowadays. In those days, they call them what they were, guts. That's what you were, a gut eater. And some of you all still gut eaters. The field Negro was beaten from morning till night. He lived in a shack, in a hut. He wore cast-off clothes. And he hated his master. I say he hated his master. He was intelligent. That house Negro loved his master. But that field Negro, remember, they were in the majority. And they hated the master. When the house caught on fire, he didn't try and put it out. That field Negro prayed for a wind, for a breeze. When the master got sick, the field Negro prayed that he died. If someone come to the field Negro and said, let's separate, let's run, he didn't say, where are we going? He said, any place is better than here.
And that's another conversation we need to have. So all our Pan-African brothers and all Black people that are intelligent, they'll know, like, hey, look, even Martin Luther King said it. I fear I'm integrating my people in a burning building. So once we all know that we have been integrated into a burning building, it just makes sense to have an exit strategy, because the building that Black Americans helped create, we didn't set it on fire. The people in charge are the people who set it on fire. So if we know this building's on fire and it's coming to a cinder, we have to have an exit strategy. But I think FBAs are so hateful and admire white people so much that they're going to burn down with the building. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. Legacy over. So I just find that to be very interesting. So I'll just pretty much end it right there. I think I just wanted to pretty much share that with you guys so you can see the parallels of FBA and when Malcolm was talking about the field Negro versus the house Negro and those attributes that Malcolm laid out. We know FBA doesn't have a field Negro on mindset. They just simply don't. They just simply don't.